Hi, my name is Zhora and I'm the Marketing Communication Design Team Leader at Dujis. I know, sounds like some ancient curse, but the idea behind these words is actually quite simple. My team is responsible for how Dujis looks in all its outgoing marketing communications. We deal with a wide range of problems, and the diversity of tools we have at our disposal is also huge. Social media, targeting, landing pages, digital marketing, merchandising, souvenirs. In fact, it would be easier to say what we don't do. And all this kerfuffle is handled by the team of 8. Wonderful people, I love them to pieces, but they're also very different, and like any other team, we have our issues. Here, I put the word unique in quotes for a reason. The thing is, any design team faces these issues in one way or another, and it doesn't matter whether you are a large corporation or a small but ambitious design agency. We've identified 5 issues. The first and the most critical of them being that our design system choked on itself. We, as a team, have our own cookbook for print and digital materials, a set of established brand hygiene guidelines intended to help us do things quickly and smoothly. Compared to, say, interface designers, we don't have too many rules. We only have 4 basic principles describing the use of typography, grids, colors, and finally, logos and icons. These were supposed to help our designers work quicker, concentrating on the core things, but turned out to be an obstacle instead. The guys could not get a good grasp of how to use this cookbook correctly, and when they did use it, it appeared would be better off never touching the goddamn thing ever. This was the first issue we needed to overcome. The second issue had to do with layout quality. It is the nature of our job that our layout design skills save the day in 90% of our tasks. But again and again, during reviews, I found myself reciting the common truths, like fix the contrast or fix the anchors, while I would like to deal with the bottlenecks. Naturally, with poor layout quality and our design choking on itself, our productivity suffered as well. We worked too slowly and blew all the deadlines we set for ourselves, which was totally unacceptable. The fourth issue has to do with COVID and the new reality it has brought on the world. The team was caught spread around different cities and countries, and we had fewer chances to meet, communicate, and maintain any type of useful interaction. The guys started noting that we were moving towards some kind of freelancing and away from proper teamwork in their performance appraisal forums, which was worrisome. These trust issues hit us hard because first we were scattered around and second our team was growing like any other design team. The lack of communication within the team and inability to exchange adequate criticism resulted in the lack of trust. To sum it all up, we sank into an abyss and we needed to get out of it. The books were the first thing I tried. As a book guy myself, I decided that we could find answers there. I shared some awesome stuff so that the guys could better understand their toolkit or change their way of thinking altogether. But there was a little problem. Turns out that not all people are readers. The second aspect here is that a book is essentially pieces of knowledge incorporated in the author's train of thought. When a designer has to lay out some A4 leaflet ASAP and tries to adapt this knowledge to the task, they often get confused. The authors are usually more interested in reflecting on their experience rather than reciting the basic stuff, while the designers need some knowledge readily applicable to their layouts. We dropped the books, and the second thing I tried were online courses, which are plenty nowadays. Bang Bang, Design Workout, and the like. But we stumbled upon another problem. Courses have structure, cool delivery, some quality information, and are an awesome choice in and of themselves. But completing a course always remains a matter of a particular designer's goodwill. And designers always have a bunch of more important things to do. So the courses didn't do it for us, and the next thing I turned to were intensive sessions. The idea was that we met as a team in person and started thinking on each other's tasks, tried to connect and interact in various ways. This was a groundbreaking experience that could solve all of our problems. The one and only downside was we could not do that on a regular basis. Imagine that you take 8 team members involved in all marketing processes and isolate them for several days. The detrimental effect on workflow and ongoing tasks is obvious. So this could be a great choice for us, but we were unable to implement it. As we discarded one option after another, we compiled a specification for a perfect tool to solve all our problems. We needed something not too time and cost intensive, something we could use on a regular basis, and that would help us build trust within the team and improve our productivity and quality of work. Then I dived into thinking, and I gotta say, the goal seemed utopian and hopeless. My heart was broken, but then I met her. Like any good story, things took a romantic turn at some point, and here came my love interest. Her name was Figma, and it took me some time to figure her out. I used to think of her as that ugly friend of a more attractive and popular sketch, but as we got to know each other and understood what we were capable of, all the puzzle pieces fell into their places. This romance gave birth to our training sessions. To better explain what our training sessions are, I often use group exercises at the gym as a metaphor. What would be the integral parts of the group exercise experience? The first thing would be the site where the exercises take place. The second thing would be the equipment, like resistant balls, Swiss balls, etc., which makes it easier to concentrate on specific muscle groups. The third would be the setting. Group exercises are obviously intended for groups. When you cannot do some exercise, you can turn to your left or right, see other people failing miserably just like you, and relax. The fourth would be the process. Group exercises are held regularly, limited in time, and focused on a certain muscle group. The fifth essential component would be the coach, with their giant mirror where they can see everyone, which allows them to come to you at any moment and tell you how the specific exercise is done or correct you if your technique is nothing like the proper one. Our training sessions use the same components. Here, a Figma file acts as our premises and our design system as the equipment. Our setting is implemented right inside Figma via TeamSpeak, which is actually much cooler than Slack and Zoom calls or using any other messenger. Our process is limited in time, our sessions are held regularly, and we always focus on a specific muscle group. The best thing for me is the Figma's multiplayer feature, which allows me to monitor what the guys do in real time and explain something or give tips and corrections when needed to improve their performance. With all these components in place, we obtain a template or a pattern of sorts that we can use to hold any kind of training sessions, depending on our goals and ongoing tasks. I have already developed a dozen of various formats, and I'd like to elaborate on the two most successful ones. The first and the awesomest training session I've developed was Layout Design Basics. As I've said before, it is the nature of our job that our layout design skills saves the day in 90% of our tasks here at TGIS, which is why the first topic was exactly that. It's a substantial educational program consisting of 8 units, and what is great about them is that there is a specific reason behind each and every of them. This structure emerged from the overlapping of 3 things: the knowledge available on the market, specific nature of our team, and the character of the tasks we worked on. The units are arranged from simpler ones to harder ones. For example, when we arrive at the layout unit and introduce the concept of modules, we are on a whole new level compared to contrast and anchors units. To better illustrate how training sessions on layout design basics are carried out, I'll use an exercise from the contrast unit as an example. We start with a short piece of theory identifying the tools that create contrast in our designs. There are color, shape, and size. Then, I send the guys to scout Behance, Dribbble, or Pinterest for references that would illustrate how these tools are used in a clear and accurate fashion. We do this to set the baseline, or in other words, to make sure that the guys understood what I wanted to say. Then we continue with practice. We take an actual design from Tujus and use it to practice our contrast-related tools that we've studied. We derive the meanings from it. And by the way, it doesn't matter whether it's good or bad, since what we're interested in is the content. And try to come up with 3 different ways and 3 different posters telling a story of some kind using the tools we've been researching. Then we have 45 minutes when I monitor what the guys are doing, and sometimes I come by to give directions or show examples of possible improvements until I make sure that everyone got the idea. The last 10 minutes we spend discussing the designs. My usual process here is that I give myself 3 actions to try and improve the design and show the guys how you can easily do that, even with the bare minimum of tools. That is an approximate scenario for each training session on layout design. With all 8 units completed, we hold a test. I call it a terminal exam. This includes 5 tasks united by the same context. This time we took a trip to Mars and we went through a whole series of tasks. We started with ticket designs, including the backside, then we boarded the ship and designed a front page from a news medium and an Abias's capsule interface, and spiced it all up with a propaganda poster encouraging people to become Martians. The guys came up with 5 designs united by the same theme, and naturally, I required some assessment criteria. I've always been a vocal opponent of scope approach with its A's, B's, and C's. My goal was to show the team members some gaps in knowledge that they could have rather than compare them against each other. That's why I chose to use warm, hot, and cold, and some average that we can derive from them. What we get is a snapshot of performance that the designer can recollect to take a nostalgia trip or analyze what pieces of knowledge are underutilized and require attention.
Layout design basics have been a blast. We're doing the 3rd season now.
At the same time, my team showed a demand for all the other kinds of toolkit knowledge apart from layout design, and there were the guys that could share this knowledge. So we decided to add 2 more units to layout design basics in the near future, these being font basics and illustration basics. Seems we're getting ourselves a full-fledged design academy. The second cool format I'd like to discuss today is redesigns. Initially, our redesigns were intended as a form of testing after completing layout design basics, but then they've developed into their own thing. So, what are they about? We've got a Figma where the guys put their works they are not too confident about and could use some feedback or assistance with. We start each training session with the analysis of key mistakes made in those designs based on the units from the layout design basics that we've already covered. Then we continue by trying to improve these designs. My part is basically the same as in layout design basics. I come by and share some recommendations, we try to figure out the improvements we can make, and eventually we get some new designs. Then I ask the guys to evaluate the works and we determine the most liked designs. This concludes the redesigns, but it doesn't end here for the redesigned works. It is a Tujus mentality that even our completed works continue to evolve. If the design has not been sent to printing or production yet, then the designer has time to use the ideas and feedback that we generated in redesigns. And here I would like to share 2 examples that I hold dear. The first story is about stickers that we made for student events. The stickers themselves were cool, but the designer was struggling with assembling them on the layout. It was redesigns that helped us find the right format that was cool and convenient and stood out against the other materials. Eventually, the designer took the layout from redesigns, adapted it, prepared for printing, and we've got an awesome design that would otherwise not happen. The second example has to do with social media. We occasionally deal with carousels consisting of 5 different cards with some places or events or whatever. The problem here was that all the dynamics between the cards was achieved by placing the text at the top or at the bottom, which seemed quite boring to look through. Then it occurred to us at the redesigns that instead of looking at these cards in isolation, presentation, we could see them as a single consistent story. This principle that took shape at the redesigns was later incorporated in our working process, and we managed to produce the design where the content transitions smoothly between the images, and we've got a cool and interesting carousel that knows what's going on in the neighborhood. The key strength of our training sessions is exactly that, the templates and patterns. The proper pattern allows you to see everything depending on the goals and objectives you set with the team, the knowledge you want to share, or the results you want to achieve. I have built a pretty diverse collection by now. We use this approach for onboarding. We put new people through a series of 5 training sessions, which were very different so that the newcomers got familiar with our toolkit and we could understand their personalities and quirks. We've also reconsidered the way we approach our tasks. It was an awesome experience, since it was no longer just a design thing, it was a corporate thing, but we worked it out through Figma and achieved great results.
The training sessions worked fantastically well and helped us solve all the problems we had. First, the design system started working properly.
The guys figured out how it ticks in the training sessions and started using it in their actual tasks. Second, the trust within the team increased significantly because the guys started to meet each other often, exchange criticism, and fool around. They've grown to like and respect, or sometimes maybe hate each other, but the fact is, we've built more trust within the team. And finally, I can tell that we are miles away in terms of our design quality and productivity than before. However, our training sessions brought us some unexpected benefits. We've developed recognition within the team. All the likes from our redesigns smoothly migrated to our daily routine. I noticed all these likes and emojis as signs of respect under weekly reports during our Friday meetings. Also, we managed to develop a common vocabulary. It happens quite often that designers don't understand each other because they speak different languages. However, the structure that we introduced from the get-go in our layout design basics and maintained in redesigns allowed us to adjust and find the language that we could use to successfully communicate. Another cool thing is our display case of projects. The fact of the matter is that we try to use actual designs from Tujis at our trainings and redesigns. It's probably due to the fact that the guys feel bolder in this setting, that they sometimes come up with very cool designs, which we cannot simply leave in the drawer. We collect those in a special Figma, and then we can go there and borrow whole designs or some fragments to create something cool. The last but not the least is we've got an additional motivation. I see it in our performance appraisal forums that the guys don't even think about looking for a job elsewhere because of our training sessions. This fact and everything above are the important indicators that our training sessions do their job. I'm proud of my team, the format we developed, and the great progress we made. I sincerely hope that my story inspires someone to try training sessions with their own design teams. I guess I need to share some insights that cost me some gray hair and a couple of sleepless nights. First of all, choose the host for your training sessions carefully. On one hand, this should be a passionate and dedicated person. On the other, the one who can not only explain stuff, but do it with their own hands and show how it's done. Second, you don't need to pressure people to come. I generally root for free market, so I just send a message via Slack where I try to describe what we are going to do in our training sessions, what people will be able to take away from them, and so on. After that, I send some personal invitations or invite someone to test the waters. People may like it and stay, or may dislike it and leave. This approach allowed me to achieve a 100% attendance during the recent season, which means all the people I wanted to see did indeed come. Third, take it as a habit to ask what the guys took away from the session. You need that to check that the knowledge you wanted to share was received the way you intended it to. It often so happens that the conclusions the guys make are the contrary to what you meant. This would be a reason to cover the same matter once again, but using the different words. Fourth, use the designs from your company. On one hand, it helps to fill a display case of solutions, which you can later use to borrow some ready-made configurations for your actual projects. On the other hand, it's a good way to show the designer how the knowledge they received can be directly applied to their tasks. We tried a fair share of random designs, but the effect was subpar because the guys see that they're doing something but cannot see it applied to their context. When we take the designs from our company, though, it's a whole new story. And lastly, fifth, ask the guys for their feedback about the course. On one hand, it's a great tool helping you check whether you achieve the goals and objectives you set for yourself. On the other hand, these are very pleasant things to read, especially when you're sad or exhausted. All these inspirational words on one hand and constructive remarks to be taken into account in future on the other will give you a significant boost to the quality of your training sessions. One might think that training sessions are a silver bullet solving all possible problems within the team. But if you look closely, they only solve two specific problems. The first one is creating and maintaining what I call teamness, and the second one, the lack of toolkit knowledge. However, if you dive deeper into team issues, you'll discover a lot more. For all that, I have two more projects to offer. On one hand, we've got growth maps. This project deals with motivation and strategic vision for designers. It is essentially a bunch of documents in paper where we identify a set of goals the designer is encouraged to achieve in a certain time. On the other hand, we've got sources of pride. This project is intended to help designers earn recognition from inside and from outside. In fact, it's kind of internal portfolio at the company's website and Behance. These three projects are the three ingredients of the system I call Design Odyssey, where all components interact and enhance each other. I'm currently integrating the system in my own team here at Togis, and soon enough I'll be ready to share the first results. You can send me your questions on Telegram, and that's it for today. Thank you for being here. Keep well. Bye.